combination can be deadly from the Rus. But with that being said, let's jump into game number 2 over here. Beasty one up against DeMusliM as we jump on to Altai.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 2 in your series. Pause, champ. There we go. In your series between DeMusliM and Beatsyqt. Spawning on the south side of the map, representing Team Liquid in the color red. It is DeMusliM on the Rus.
And on the other side of the map, it is going to be Beatsyqt playing as the HRE in blue. Very successful, taking down the first patch of the year for himself. I'm actually going to be curious to see how much bounty DeMusliM is able to grab here, because that's going to be our first benchmark point to look at for the Rus player. So let's take a look at the POV of DeMusliM over here. Right now sitting only at 80. Of course, on Altai you have one of those deer patches very close to your town center, so that's essentially guaranteed for a Rus player. But the rest of that, you have to work for it.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a difficult thing to go up against. I think on a map like this, though, this is why professional scouts really comes in, and we can see DeMusliM moving up towards the north. So one of the things to talk about here is the fact that we've got these patches of 3 deer that pop up all over the map. So we've got the first 3 deer that you're seeing out here, but that's not the only patch that you've got. You've got a patch that's down towards the east, a patch towards the west, a patch towards the center. In fact, you've got 2 towards the center. So there's all these little patches of 3 deer, which definitely do make you work for it, don't they? Because they're further out. But by the same token, professional scouts here can just get great use because you only have to think about 3 deer at a time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It also makes it much more difficult for the HRE player to deny the hunt, because obviously the Rus player, he's working with 3 scouts, so it's a little easier for him to find these small patches of deer, whereas for the HRE, obviously you only have 2 scouts operational, so you will be a little slower when it comes to scouting. You will be a little slower finding these smaller patches of deer, so it's a little bit more difficult to deny the deer from the Rus player here at the beginning of the game, as compared to the standard map spawns where you have 2 patches of 7 deer apiece.
All right, well, we'll see how these players are doing as DeMusliM climbs towards that 250 bounty to go. He continues to clean up deer. He's going to be pretty happy with how his bounty's gone so far. This will take him over that 250 threshold. Now hitting 265 at 2 minutes 20 into the game. That's a pretty decent start, don't you reckon?
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. This is 265 without a boar, plus he has a couple of sheep to work with, so it's not the most spectacular amount of bounty that I've ever seen, but it is pretty respectable, especially for a map like this one. 275 plus the sheep plus potentially a boar is nothing to be ashamed of. DeMusliM is going to be more than happy with this one.
All right, well, we'll see how Beasty looks to play it. We'll head over to his base. I want to take a look at his Archon placement, because that is going to be a very key factor in how this game plays out. He's got deer, he's got stone, he's got berries towards the front of his base. And the question is whether he looks to drop his landmark there, whether he goes in the back where there's that wood line. We'll take a look now as we follow this DeMusliM scout towards it and do find out. We'll take a look in the base of Beasty. Salami, thank you. Let's have a look and see where that Archon is.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. That is a juicy Archon chapel right there. You got deer, you got berries, you got stone, you got the town center as well. So not a bad little spot. Obviously don't have the gold, don't have the wood, but they're not going to be huge factors. The key factor here is going to be that food, especially in the early game, because this food is going to be equivalent. I mean, just those deer, that's 2350 on, is it 2350? Might be 2450. 2450 food that is there. And then the berries, you've got, what is that, 1500? So you're talking about just between those two, 4,000 food. And then any sheep that you've got on top of that is going to be adding up because it's underneath the town center. So there's just so much villager seconds, or so many villager seconds that are going to be buffed up there.
Yeah, that's a very efficient Archon chapel. Salami also pointed out the fact that the stone is close to it, so if you wanted to go for a second TC build here for the HRE, you could also get the benefit of that. And of course the gold mine is not incorporated, but that is just sort of what happens with such a map spawn. You simply can't have it incorporated. But that's not that big of a deal, because you're gonna have the Ragnitz Cathedral as your primary source of gold in many cases. So gold is not as important as you see DeMusliM trying to drag that boar a little closer to that patch of deer. That's going to increase his efficiency a tiny bit here, because not only is he grabbing the boar, he's also gonna get a couple of extra carcasses here.
Yeah, he's doing a decent job here defending up against that scout coming in as well. Beasty now going to be forced to run away. The hunting cabin does come down, and we've got some walls coming in on the side. Keep in mind, these are those fortified palisade walls. So these aren't just your standard walls, you know, those annoying little walls that are only 1,500 health. These are the big, beefy, what are they, 3k health? 3.5k health? They're ridiculous.
They are very powerful, and let's keep in mind the rules of the tournament is that you cannot build stone walls in Feudal Age. So this is essentially the strongest type of wall that you can legitimately get in this tournament in Feudal Age. You can build stone walls once you get to Castle Age, but right now in Feudal Age, DeMusliM can only build wooden walls. And among all the civilizations, of course, the Rus have the strongest wooden walls. And so this is essentially the strongest wall that you can construct in Feudal Age, makes it much more difficult for Beasty to access those relics as he's getting closer to Castle Age.
Looks like he's going to be able to fall back behind these walls before they close, bring back a few extra sheep. Second scout out towards the center as well. We see only 3 villagers gathering upwards, so no intentions of going for that second town center just yet. And now, towards the middle of the map, we do see a wooden fortress getting thrown down here. So at this point in time, it just seems like DeMusliM might just be going with a standard 1 town center boar fast castle play. No second town center getting thrown down in the middle at this stage.
Makes some sense if you think about that, because if you go for a standard fast castle over here, you could yoink some relics away from the HRE. Like, those fortified palisades won't hold forever, but you buy yourself some time, you go for a good castle age timing, you pick up some of those more contested relics, you take away the relics from the HRE that way, and then once you are in Castle Age, you can start thinking about getting a second town center up. So it's actually very similar to what a Mongol player would do, for example, with the town center timing. And you see, we're even seeing some towers being dropped on those relics. It's all about delaying those relics a tiny bit, and then picking them up as the first player out there, and then you can add your second town center still.
Yeah, this is impressive stuff coming out from DeMusliM. Nice thinking outside the box. The fact that he's walled up the relics on the outside of the map as well. Just remember, he's got those under control. And now going to be walling up absolutely every single corner of the map. Take a look at this, even over towards the west of his base. He's also walling that in. And as you can see, Salami pointing out, all the relics getting walled in. So absolutely every single relic is now protected by DeMusliM, which means he's going to be in a great spot because Beasty's going to be looking to get up into the third age. It's going to be a Burgrave Palace that gets thrown down. I think Beasty's aware of what his enemy is up to, and as a result realizes it's unlikely he's going to be able to get those relics.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. Beasty saw the walls, and he knows very well what the game plan is for the DeMusliM here. This also gives him an upside when it comes to putting up some aggression against that boar, but it also means that he's forever missing out on Regnitz Cathedral bonus, and sure thing, the Burgrave Palace, it's a reasonable landmark, but especially if this game goes very long, it's a big win for the DeMusliM that he was able to prevent Beasty from grabbing the Regnitz Cathedral.
Yeah, I think Demo's going to be really, really happy with this. And the fact that he's forced Beasty into this position, into the Burgrave, I think the one thing he's got to be careful about is just not dying to that timing push that we do typically see. But DeMusliM is going quite heavy on these wooden fortresses, though, so I think he should be in a decent spot.
DeMusliM is yet to scout the Burgrave Palace, but in his position, he should also expect it to a certain extent because, as we discussed, for Beasty, it's a natural reaction for such a walling to go for the Burgrave Palace. And you see, right now, Beasty just bumping into walls everywhere, so he's gonna be very disappointed not to be able to pick up a single relic. He might actually yoink the one in the middle. Oh yeah, there's a tower on it, so never mind. You're not gonna get any single relic over here, Beasty, it seems.
Yeah, there's a way that he can do it. Yeah, if he just wants to come in and take this, he'd need to bring a second prelate with him. But he could actually grab that first relic. We do see men-at-arms now going to be coming out for Beasty as well. He's got 6 out on the field at the moment. He's got another one in queue. So he's looking to build up a bit of a mass of those infantry units now. They've got their elite upgrade coming through now. There it is. Well, not their elite upgrade, but their castle age upgrade coming through now. So they are all upgraded. Got the +1 ranged armor as well. So they should be able to tank up a fair bit of damage here. He's going to come right underneath the boar and look to idle up a fair few villagers here.
This is risky here for the DeMusliM because keep in mind that those men-at-arms, they are very tanky units, and there's a lot more to come from Beasty, so he could easily get rid of this tower, and as such get the villager kills inside. Looks like the men-at-arms will just run past though, heading straight towards the base of the DeMusliM, who's on the way to Castle Age. I would think he's getting ready to start adding crossbows, because he should know that the men-at-arms is going to be the #1 unit for Beasty to go for, and that's a stone being mined. Could we see an early castle here even from the DeMusliM?
Yeah, that's a lot of villagers that are going to be going down onto stone. That is a fair bit more than what you'd put down for a town center. So that could be the case. But you can see that I don't know if we've got any archery ranges coming out just yet. Second layer of wall is going to be coming down as well for DeMusliM. Third layer of wall coming down for him over on that eastern flank. He really wants to prevent Beasty from breaking through that. But we can see all those villagers going to be jumping inside that outpost. And now villagers moving away from that bore. Fortunately, there's not a lot of line of sight on those men-at-arms, so they don't actually see the villagers on the stone mine. Just going to be turning their attention towards that wooden fortress.
And it looks like DeMusliM is adding arrow slits here. Now, with a wooden fortress, you can actually get yourself arrow slits and springald as well, and that is a big, big buff. Because there is a bug in the game right now that if you get arrow slits and springald emplacement as well, the arrow slits upgrade will also increase the range of the springald emplacement itself. So you will have some very long range springald on those wooden fortresses, each of them also having 2000 HP. So it's gonna be very difficult for Beast to deal with a lot of towers having both arrow slits and springald emplacements.
First relic of the game going to be picked up by Beasty. Keep in mind that DeMusliM has gone for the Abbey of the Trinity, which is going to mean that he is looking for those warrior monks. And we see the springald emplacement now coming through on that first wooden fortress, and it's going to be able to support these villagers as they manage to jump inside that wooden fortress. We see the second prelate moving out towards that position and looking to steal away a couple more relics underneath the town center, though. Beasty is looking to cause a little bit of havoc as those villagers do jump inside. We see the warrior monk turning around. Relic is picked up. It's going to be gunned down completely by that keep, immediately losing its position. So unfortunately, the prelate does go down.
Yeah, he was hoping that DeMusliM accidentally pops out the villagers or he pops out for repairs, and he just wanted to preemptively Wololo this. And you see that behind this one, Beasty is doing something that DeMusliM did when he played against Marine Lord on Lipany with the HRE, sending a couple of men-at-arms to the Roost player's eco. So not only pressure the boar expansion, also pressure the starting wood eco, starting villagers on the sheep, because you could easily get some villager picks for yourself over here. This time around, the base of DeMusliM is reinforced with 2 defensive towers that also have springald emplacement, so it's gonna be a difficult push for Beasty, but now he's got the 200 weapons upgrade on the man-at-arms. He has pretty decent numbers of them, and DeMusliM has 0 army. He's playing full tower defense right now, and he could be in trouble here very soon, actually.
Yeah, this was looking good for DeMusliM until I saw all those men-at-arms. I'm sure he's going to be feeling the same way because they're going to be able to come in underneath this position. Now, obviously, Beasty's going to be bleeding units here, but unfortunately, I mean, for DeMusliM though, this is a tough hold right now. He's going to be focusing down the first wooden fortress. Villager's going to be jumping out, able to repair that up. We can see an immediate reaction from those men-at-arms just getting in underneath that wooden fortress, trying to take it down before those villagers pop out. And once again, they pop out. Now just going to be forced to run away. And keep in mind, taking down this wooden fortress also takes out the double emplacement that it's got there as well.
Yeah, it's a very pricey building to take down, and sure enough, for Beasty, as you pointed out, he's going to be bleeding units, he's going to be losing those units to those towers, but when DeMusliM has 30 of his 39 villagers idle, he doesn't care about it. All he cares about is making sure DeMusliM doesn't have a single villager working, because the doctrine here is that your entire eco is idle, and I am still producing units, and you see Beasty's also using the map control that he has received with this aggression to take that boar for himself. Really nice turn up of aggression over here, and now DeMusliM is in serious trouble.
DeMusliM now looking to try and clean up on this position on the south side. You can see he's coming through with quite a handful of men-at-arms, just really doing damage to Beasty, and now going to be forcing him away from that. We see the first crossbow making its way out onto the field. 2 crossbows coming out for DeMusliM, and that is going to be a relieving sign for him because he's going to be more than capable of cleaning up this mess now that the crossbow numbers have begun to build, because they realistically only need about 5 or 6 of them to start working their magic. And with that, it's going to put DeMusliM in a really decent spot. Keep in mind, Beasty's managed to secure 2 relics. Wololo coming in, looking to try and take away villagers. This could be bad for Beasty. One of the villagers does get taken, so he manages to steal 1. Very cheeky. That could have been 5. It was close to being 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was close to being 5, and at the end of the day, that villager is gonna get killed, but keep in mind, you essentially just killed the villager from Beasty. You converted it, and then it gets killed. It's as if you killed a villager out there. It's not much though, and behind this one, Beasty is not really concerned about the villager numbers because he's using this buffer that he's receiving from all these men-at-arms putting up aggression on the Muslims' base to buy himself some time to get to Imperial. So he's banking up resources and he's getting ready to drop that pass of Schwabia in the next 20 seconds.
Yeah, impressive stuff from Beasty going in behind this, just doing it with a Burger Palace as well. Normally, you wouldn't have enough food, ironically, as the Burger Palace to do it, just because you're pumping all of it into units. But here we see Beasty managing to find himself plenty of time. I'd love to see what his economy is looking like back at home, as we see plenty of crossbows now finally coming out for DeMusliM. He's looking to try and hold on, heading into horse archers as well. We'll jump back towards the base of Beasty and just take a quick look at what his economy is looking like over there.
He still has the boar to work with. That's definitely a buff as well.
Just the boar for the moment. We'll take a look and see whether he's got that farm transition coming in. Obviously, Palace of Swabia is going down on the backside.
All right, there's the Palace of Swabia out there. Not a lot of farms added, and you see that that starting mill is now out of food. The berries are gone, the hunt is gone. Beasty still needs to be careful not to lose complete access to food, because right now his only food source is the boar. But DeMusliM has been set back so much that Beast has a ton of time to work with over here. DeMusliM also has a pretty respectable food bank though, and he's gonna have 2, actually, maybe even 3 sacred sites immediately.
Yeah, this is gonna be tough for DeMusliM to hold on, because even if he takes the sacred sites, remember, Beasty's online now. He's in Imperial, he's got the printer out. In fact, he's got the double printer out. He's got the unit printer, he's also got the villager printer. And that's exactly where the Holy Roman Empire wants to be. We see a reaction coming out from DeMusliM now, dropping down a second town center. He's also stacking up a lot of food. Surely there's no way he goes fast Imperial in response to this, right?
I mean, what other options does he have? Like, I feel like if he's committing to Castle Age over here, he is ultimately going to be overrun by better units. Right now, he has a ton of food in the bank. It's going to take some time for him to get army out. Like, right now, he's not in a position to put up that much aggression against Beasty. All he can do is get some raids going, pick off a couple of villagers, but his only realistic option might be to just go to fast Imperial, because if he gets to Imperial, we could be entering that domain where the Rus starts to shine with their late game unit composition, and he's going to buy himself some time to capitalize on that second TC, catch up in villagers. He still has the relic advantage if he drops that third relic that he has into a monastery, and he has 3 sacred sites which give him a bunch of passive gold as well. So I think fasting here is a realistic option for DeMusliM.
Yeah, interesting to see coming out for him. So, yeah, it does look like it is going to be a fast Imperial for both of these players today. And to be honest, I think that's not a bad move by DeMusliM, honestly. We were talking about this a bit earlier. When it comes to the late game, in the event that these players do come in on an even playing field, which obviously it's not at the moment because Beasty's got the villager printer and DeMuslim's only just added that second town center in. But in the event that it does manage to even out or stabilize, you would expect that the Rus player would be having some pretty decent trades, especially considering the fact that they've got those Streltsy that just deal so much damage effectively against the knights, the horsemen, the men-at-arms. You know, the Holy Roman Empire love to play this melee composition. And what does Streltsy do? They love to kill melee units.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Now, Beasty is still going to have that timing, so the moment he sees DeMusliM reaching Imperial, he knows that, okay, I need to do something very soon, and there is still a respectable villager lead for Beatsyqt. So the timing advantage is on his side right now, and now you see he's starting to secure some more map control with those keeps. The good news for DeMusliM is that Beasty's army is not looking spectacular. 3 men-at-arms, 4 horsemen, not much he can do damage with, and that buys a lot of time for DeMusliM to reach that ideal unit composition that you just mentioned.
Looks like the scholar or the warrior monk's going to be out on the map. Looking to cause a little bit of havoc, but now farms coming in as well for Beasty. We see elite horsemen coming through. So this is something that has been happening a fair bit with the Holy Roman Empires. They love to play this sort of horseman style, where they move into horsemen as well as lance connects in the late game. And it's such a difficult composition to deal with. But obviously, DeMusliM going to be on the Streltsy, able to mix Streltsy as well as just a handful of spearmen. He should be A-okay.
Yeah, Beasty has spotted that high armory coming up, so now he's aware of the fact that DeMusliM is on the way to Imperial. He's also going to get the notification now, so he knows it's Imperial Age time for both. He does have a pretty decent villager lead, but DeMusliM is on 2 TCs, and you see he's already adding a very resource and population efficient unit. The Streltsy in there, those Streltsy, they can buffer up for DeMusliM until he catches up in terms of villagers, and they are a really cost efficient unit at this stage of the game. Whereas for Beasty, he's just lacking an army to push this one with a timing push right now. This is looking better and better for DeMusliM because, as we discussed before, in the long run, he has the better civilization.
We see some upgrades, interesting upgrades coming through for DeMusliM. Greased Axle is going to be one of them. He's also getting in some Springles. Now, interestingly, we don't actually see any Siege coming out from Beasty. I don't even think we see a Siege Workshop coming out yet from him. So, curious to see exactly what direction this looks to go. But I suspect it... Oh, my lord, that emplacement just does so much damage, doesn't it? Look at that, just boom, 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 boom.
And now look at that, range of 12, because Beasty picked up a relic from the back of his base, garrisoned it into the keeps. And that is just such a nightlow touch from him. That keep is ludicrous powerful when it comes to having that relic garrisoned inside. It is one of the best defensive emplacements or best defensive structures that you can have in the game, to have an HRE keep with a relic garrisoned inside. Nice little touch by Beasty over there, and that's going to be a difficult angle to push for DeMusliM because of that.
Horseman now coming out for Beasty. He's up to 14 of them. Looks like he's going to be mixing in some spears as well. Interesting that he's got a couple of spears out as well. Not sure when he added those in, but there they are out on the field now. Going to get taken down by those Springlets. I expect that we do indeed see roller shutter triggers coming in for DeMusliM. I wouldn't be surprised to see that unique upgrade that the Rus get access to as well. Just give them a little bit extra range on that one as well. Banded Arms, I believe it's called. Yeah, the double Siege Workshop for him at this point in time. He just seems to be going quite heavy on Springlets. In fact, adding in a 4th Springlet.
Yeah, he goes very heavy on the Springles, so it actually makes me wonder whether Beasty is going to start adding Coverings himself, which is definitely something that the HRE can do. And we know that Beasty loves to play with Siege. We have seen him play HRE with a way where he's just basically having his entire army in the form of Coverings, because those units, they also have good base damage. So you have like a horseman front with 7-8 Coverings. That's actually a pretty scary army, especially in the hands of a siege expert like Beasty. But it looks like for now he's just going full horseman over here, and I guess it's gonna come down to one big raid from him potentially.
Indeed, it is double Siege Workshop getting thrown down for Beasty. So DeMusliM just, I guess he just knows his opponent. He knows who he's playing against. He knows what Beasty is up to and what his plans are. But by the same token, he knows that the only thing that can really deal effectively with these Streltsy are mangonels.
Indeed, farming eco is on the front over here for Beasty, as Salami is pointing out. So if DeMusliM is able to get an attack into the base of Beasty, Beasty's food eco is going to fall apart. This being said, it's right next to the Archon Chapel, so it's also going to be a very efficient food eco. So you see Beasty is up to 1700 food per minute. DeMusliM right now only sitting at 1000, so economy is still substantially better over here for Beatsyqt. He's got 120 villagers, so he's essentially fully boomed. Whereas on the other side, still only 76 for DeMusliM. And now that group of horsemen is getting dangerously large here for Beasty.
Tithe Barns coming through for Beasty despite only having 2 relics. We also see Biology coming through as well. So looking to improve the health on those cavalry units, make them a little bit more capable to dive through. But we do see there's a lot of resources to be had over on this south side of the map. And Beasty's broken through those walls finally. And he's going to be looking to take control of this southern part of the map. We can see him moving out. He's got stone in the bank as well. So he is looking to stonewall and secure this southern sacred site as well as the gold that accompanies it.
And if he's successful building those walls, he's also going to have a very close presence to that neutral market in the southern corner. So he could also put up some aggression against the Muslims' trade if this game goes very long and we are indeed seeing trade from the Rus players. So Beasty right now is setting himself up very well long term with that positioning on the right side. He's securing a lot of neutral gold mines for himself, the sacred site, and also just generally strengthening his position when it comes to map control.
Take a look at the villager difference between these two players. And this is where the timing window really comes in for the Holy Roman Empire. It's about now to the 35th minute that it really comes in. And this is where I was talking about earlier. In the event these two players get through to the late game on an even footing, then it is a very different outcome than if you get into the late game with one ahead of the other. And BC has come into the late game with a significant lead. That being that his villager count is now up by 50 villagers. That is a huge amount. It's going to take time before DeMuslim's actually able to populate those villages up. So far, we've seen a second town center come out for him. Haven't seen a third one just yet, but it's going to take some time before he gets up to that. And this is going to enable Beasty to look to try and trade out with those units. You can see that as Beasty continues to climb towards that 200 population, he's going to look to start to put on the hurt towards DeMusliM, and with that start trading out. And that's going to enable that villager lead that he's got to really start gathering steam in that engine and really start moving uphill with regard to that population count. But now a raid going to be coming in towards this top side of the base, hitting the wood line. You can see a warrior monk going to be looking to help out, but unfortunately, horsemen going to be able to run past. Streltsy as well as spearmen going to be able to clean up this position, or at least try to, as those horsemen do indeed run past.
And the idea here for Beasty is that he's fully aware of the fact that DeMusliM's villager count is not spectacular. And he knows that, oh, Warrior Monk getting surrounded over there. He knows that he's up against Spearman, he's up against Streltsy, so he can't really take a direct engagement, but he doesn't even want to. All he wants to do is raid and just make sure that DeMusliM cannot catch up with villagers. 40 horsemen running into your eco will wipe out 20 villagers very easily. So this way you could sort of pin and lock DeMusliM into that position where he only has like 60, 70 villagers. Just don't let him get to that 100+ eco count that he so much has a desire to get to.
We saw right there how effective those Springalds are in the late game, and that is what makes Rus Springald so damn strong. It is that Banded Arms upgrade. They get that extra little bit of range, and it enables you to just engage from outside the line of sight of the bombards, and they just get completely one-shot by those units. But now we start to see counter walls coming up from Beasty. He is stone-walling up the map, it seems.
He is stonewalling up the map, and as Salami has shown us, DeMusliM is still lacking chemistry on those Streltsy, so he doesn't have full upgrades for his army just yet. But he's got 8 Springolds out there, and that's going to deal with Beasty's bombards. Beasty wasn't prepared for that much anti-siege to be in place there. But on the other hand, there is an opening to the north, and those walls are unfinished. I don't think you can finish these in time.
Oh, it was so damn close. He almost managed to get through there, and now falls back away from that position. Immediately tries to get down another row of walls. Unfortunately, not going to be able to do it. Now going to be losing a fair amount of villagers on this south side. In fact, all of the horsemen just decide they're going to go after that single hunting cabin instead.
I think they're now pursuing the villagers, and this is where DeMusliM is going to face a different type of problem. It is the lack of map control. He's being harassed on the left side. The right side of the map has been entirely controlled by Beatsyqt with those stone walls. So DeMusliM will face the trouble of just running out of resources, plain and simple. He still has some to work with inside his base, but these raids and the potential lack of resources for the next 10 minutes could be a serious concern for him. He's up to 100 villagers, but he can't delay breaking out of his base much longer.
We now see the horsemen on the south side of his base. This is starting to look bad for DeMusliM. He's going to be looking to do a bit of a farm transition. But we see behind this, the Beastie's getting a whole bunch of upgrades. But speaking of upgrades, we've got chemistry coming through for DeMusliM. He's sitting at 175 population at the moment. Keep in mind, he's down about 52 villagers compared to Beastie. If there's ever been an example of overbooming, I'd say this might be it. 152 villagers definitely starts to feel like it might be too many.
I actually have to disagree with this one. I think Beastie is doing this for a specific reason. He's understanding that he cannot push the enemy right now, so what else could you do? You go for a crazy overboom, like those villagers are essentially throwaway units. You will have to delete like 30 of them at some point, but it doesn't matter. What you want is to swoop up all the resources from the map. You want to set yourself up while you have the map control to take all the resources and just delete 20 villagers once there is just no resources left on the map. So when DeMusliM is getting ready to push out, you just convert all that population occupied by the villagers into army, and your resource bank will be spectacular. If you take a look at Beast's resource bank, he's hoarding resources like a madman. He's consciously overbooming to make sure he's stripping the map barren of resources while he can, and then once DeMusliM starts putting up some aggression, he's going to delete the villagers and convert all that resource bank into just a massive army.
All right, we'll look to see how he plays it, because he's definitely getting plenty of upgrades. We see Siege Works, Chemistry, as well as Court Architects coming in. He is stripping this map barren of any sort of resource that remains. That large gold van to the south has been completely stripped. We see more stone walls coming up for Beastie over towards the west of the map as a keep is getting dropped down by DeMusliM as a response to that. Double Trebuchet now coming out as well for our Rus player, and a lot of Springalds on this front side, just in a standard formation, not running with a line just yet. I think there was 8 Springalds that I spotted in that position, so going to be easily able to take out the bombards that Beastie's got. But keep in mind, Beastie doesn't have a particularly big army at this point because so much of his population space is taken up by those villagers.
Yeah, that's exactly it, and he has 2 bombards as well, which also consume a lot of population space out there. But Beastie doesn't even want to have a lot of army right now because he knows that DeMusliM is not pushing him. He's grabbing all the upgrades. Look at the right side of the screen. Military Academy, the Spearman melee defense upgrade, then you have Chemistry coming in, Siege Works on the way, Elite Knights as well. He's transforming all those resources into all the upgrades, and that is also, once again, him setting himself up long term. He doesn't want to win a fight right now, he just wants to make sure that he's got all the upgrades. And the reason why he's grabbing all the upgrades is because this will make his unit transitions late game very smooth. It's not like he's gonna have to research any upgrades when he needs to make a transition. He's gonna have all the technologies, so he can just make a fully upgraded type of unit from whichever type of unit he needs.
Well, you did mention earlier that Beasty had been playing the campaign to unlock some of those new cosmetics, and I'm starting to think, is he going for an achievement right now to get every single upgrade? Because I'm seeing Mangonel's upgrade. Is that the what is it called? The crossbar? Mangonel
Adjustable crossbars?
Adjustable crossbars coming in for the Mangonels. He's getting absolutely everything right now. It is just ludicrous how many upgrades he is getting. Things that you'd never think you'd need. You know, the +3 melee armor on Spearmen in the late game against the Rus, when they're typically just going to be making full Streltsy with Springalds. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this unfolds as he continues dropping down keeps. And the thought crosses my mind, do we dare potentially see a wonder this game? Look, I think it's unlikely that it happens, but I'm just gonna throw it out there because it does feel like a game that we might.
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. For now, Beasty is hoarding a ton of resources out there, and normally I'm not a fan of a player grabbing all the possible upgrades because many of those, as you said, won't be used. But when Beasty has so many resources in the bank as he has right now, why not grab most of those upgrades and, as I said, just make your unit transitions very smooth by always having every single unit fully upgraded. Sounds weird, but this may actually work out well for Beasty, and you see he's also getting ready to wall off this right hand side, preventing the future trade of his opponent, once again setting himself up very well long term. He's here to play a 5-hour long game.
Well, he's come to the right place because we're happy to watch it. And, I mean, I don't know, 5 hours, you might need to wake me up. I might need to have a little bit of a siesta at some point during this game. But, I mean, at this point, everything is shaping up to be just your standard Beatsyqt game. You'd expect it to be played this way. I mean, he's playing it methodically, and that's exactly what he wants, right? But one of the things that we did talk about earlier is that in the event it gets to this sort of hyper late game stage, this is where the Rus could actually start to take off.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, that unit composition of Spearmen, Streltsy, and Bombards, that is a deadly combination. DeMusliM also has quite a lot of Trebuchets out there, so not only Bombard is the unit, or it's not the only unit that he has against buildings. Notably, Beasty does have all 3 Sacred Sites, so there's a Sacred Site countdown going on right now, currently sitting at 730. I think one of those Sacred Sites could be decapped on the right side because DeMusliM is pushing that angle with his army, but I don't think he's expecting a push from the northern side to come in, and that's what Beasty is masterminding right now. He's going to try to push to the back of DeMuslim's base from the northern side.
Yeah, this is a smart move from him. We can see that the villager count is starting to climb up for DeMusliM. He's up to 121 villagers. Now going to be able to push in towards this position. Villagers going for a bit of a chop through towards this southern side. And you can see just how much trouble they're having with the wood gathering as they've actually migrated just miles away from that initial lumber camp. This is just the consequence of having so many villagers all trying to gather from the same wood line. Bombards over on the west side, just the Beatsyqt classic over here. This is something that always impresses me with Beasty, is he has the mindfulness to send a bombard or 2 over to the west to clear to clear a keep. And
That's
then
not just 2 bombards though. He's hiding the cavalry in the corner. There's a big group of cavalry.
Is there a landmark snipe coming in? Is that what you're alluding to?
Or just a complete eco snipe. Dive in with 30 cavalry from behind, and this is not something that DeMusliM expected.
All right, well, let's see how he plays it, because now a bit of a defense going to be coming through. We can see the Springalds moving up, looking to try and protect away from those bombards. Going to be able to get off their shots on the first one, managing to take it out. The second one going to get taken out as well, and the wall looks like it's going to hold. Salami, where are we? Go back to where we were, Salami. Salami. There we go. The horsemen are now on top of the Streltsy. Streltsy doing what they do best and just shredding through all of that army. There we go. And those Springalds on the backside just watching in awe like we are as the Streltsy clean it up.
Actually, Now it's turning into more of a diversion though, because Beasty is now following the doctor of offense is the best defense. 5 minutes left only on that sacred side countdown, and he's got 63 horsemen. It's all about this one. He forces the Muslim to make a choice. You defend against the horsemen that I will just spam into your base, or you go for the sacred sites. Beasty just wants to make sure that the Muslim never leaves his base, and he's actually doing a great job with that.
He's going to be able to snipe out this trebuchet. Ideally, you'd love to see walls come up from him, but you've got to remember that he can't make stone walls. Now it looks like, unfortunately, a wall is not made all the way towards the edge there. Horsemen going to be able to run through on that south side, and as you alluded to, there is still a sacred site victory that is ticking right now for Beatsyqt.
And just look at the army here for Beasty. He's got 12,000 food with 3,000 per minute. He's just spamming horsemen non-stop. That's a sign that he doesn't want to take direct engagements. You would never spam horsemen into 40 spearmen out there. It's a sign that you just want to make sure that you never take direct fights. All you want to do is just raid, raid, and raid, pick off these expensive springboards, and then just send the cavalry into the back of the enemy base. And you see, DeMusliM has a slow-moving army over here. He needs to pursue, and this is something that he wants to avoid, because that sacred site countdown is now down to 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and getting dangerously close to that win condition here for Beasty.
Yeah, this is where it starts to get tough, because remember, he's going to have to challenge that keep in the center. The one thing to remember about that keep in the center is that it has got a lot of relics. We actually see, did he just delete? I suspect he deleted those villages, right? But he's on 81 villages. I guess he's got plenty of resources in the bank, so he's just going to try and go all in with 120 military units now. But yeah, one of the things I was mentioning was the fact that you've got that keep in the middle with the relic, and that's going to enable its bombard cannon, its emplacement, to fire off 12 range. So you're going to need trebuchets. Fortunately, that's what DeMuslim's got out. He's got 2 trebuchets out, which are going to be able to deal with this effectively.
And you see Beasty is now switching into Landsknecht. And DeMusliM, as you pointed out, he's up to 120 army, but this is where it gets sketchy for him. Let's say he decaps a sacred site. How long-term is his army? He is getting 300 gold per minute. He's not set up long-term with economy. And this is what Beasty is forcing him to decide between. Are you all-inning the sacred sites, trying to make sure that the sacred site counter doesn't reach 0 minutes, or are you playing a long game over here? By forcing the Muslim to push these sacred sites, he is essentially crippling the long-term plans of the Muslim. And Beasty behind this one, he's got plenty of resources to burn. He can afford to spam unit after unit into the lineup of the Muslim, and the Muslim has a much lower potential to replace the units lost, especially the expensive Streltsy.
Less than 3 minutes to go until Sacred Victory. Elite Spear is going to be coming out onto this front side. A lot of Landsknechts in here. Where are the Streltsy? Everybody needs to get to the front line right now. But you can only imagine that they're on the backside dealing some way, somehow, with those reinforcements or those horsemen that we've seen come through. That keep looks like it is going to be going down. No villagers out in the middle to repair it, but the Bombards all going to be losing their lives as well to the Landsknechts. Horsemen coming out, and now DeMusliM down to 140. We forgot about emergency repairs. There it comes, the clutch emergency repairs. Streltsy on the backside for DeMusliM, finally coming back towards the front. He's got 46 of them. I got no clue where they are, and good game gets called. DeMusliM taps out. Beatsyqt takes this series, or takes this series to 2-0, and a potential final game.
You have just seen a perfect example of why Beatsyqt is such a dangerous late game player out there, because he's setting himself up long term. Those stone walls, he made some of those walls at minute 15, setting himself up for a 2-hour-long game potentially, and then he captures all 3 sacred sites, and he realizes that, okay, it's not a problem that I do an overboom, 150 villagers, because I just hoard all the resources, strip the map barren of resources, pile up the resources, because when I need to take my fights in 10 minutes, let's say, I will have tens of thousands of resources to burn, so I can just keep spamming in units into the army of the Muslim. And ultimately this comes down to the fact that Beasty was much more set up with his Imperial Age. He had like 30-40 villagers, and sure thing, at one point the Muslim caught up with the villager count, but by that time Beasty was floating tens of thousands of resources. Beasty always being one step ahead with the economy. That villager graph tells you a lot about the state of the economies in this game, I feel.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I think that's just the consequence of BC hitting Imperial that fast. It was a beautiful timing window from him. It took DeMusliM a little bit too long to get into the castle age, get down those to get the crossbows out, and as a consequence, he was idle for a fair bit of time in there, and it definitely cost him. We can see that his villager graph basically just goes stagnant there for a solid between, I guess, about 10 minutes and 15 minutes. So, yeah, a little bit tough there for Demo, but Beastie looking on fire in that last game. All right.
And
well, we're
with
going to be
that-
jumping
oh,
into.
Yep.
Oh, I was going to say, we're going to be jumping into game number 3 shortly. I'm not sure exactly what the matchup is going to be.